don't even know why I asked you because I can't even hear you now. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Stephanie Liu, and welcome to a new episode of Lights, Camera, Live. This is going to be fun. We are going to be talking about Instagram. Instagram for business to business, Instagram for real estate, Instagram, all the things. So if you're like me, where you live like on Facebook and LinkedIn and all the other things, and Instagram is still kind of like Pandora's box to you, this is the episode. Because there's no one else that knows Instagram better than my girl, Jenn Herman. Like anytime everyone's like, oh, can you talk about Instagram? I'm like, no, I cannot. I'm not allowed to. That goes to Jenn Herman because I can't, how many books of yours do I have? 1, 2, 3. She has a lot of books. I'm looking, is it 3 or 4 now? 4 now. Yeah, she has 4 books. 4 books. Instagram, I'm telling you, if you had ever wanted to know all that there is to know about Instagram and to ask the questions, this is going to be the episode. This is going to be the episode because I've reserved her. I reserved her for the hour. So that way you could ask her questions. And so we'll talk a little bit about what's happening in Instagram, trends, things of that sort. And then it's Q&A. It's Q&A. That's you. That's you, baby. That's you, where you get to hop in and say all the beautiful, wonderful things. So having said that, if you're just tuning in, welcome to another episode of Lights, Camera, Live. We are going to be talking about Instagram. And there's no one else better than to talk about Instagram but the Grandmaster, Jenn Herman. Let me tell you, the very first time that I met Jenn Herman in person, I was standing on stage at Social Media Day San Diego. I think it was like 2017. And this beautiful woman was sitting in the front row. And she wears like, what, 4-inch heels? I don't know. But so I'm going down the aisle and I'm like, I wanted to introduce myself to people and just say like, hey, like, I'm Stephanie Liu, I'll be speaking soon. And so I went down like the front row and I shook everyone's hands. And then there was Jenn Herman, okay? And I go, hi, I'm Stephanie Liu. And she goes, oh, I know you. And I was like, oh, Jenn Herman knows me. And then she stood up, which I was like, oh. I was like, oh, hi. I was like, what do I do now? Hi. Nice to meet you. So, hey, I want to introduce you to one of my really good friends. She's also a business partner because we are both in the 360 Marketing Squad. There's no one else that I would love to introduce you to talk about Instagram than Jenn Herman. So having said that, let's bring the homegirl to the screen. Jenn Herman, what's up?
Oh my God. You make it sound like I'm like some Amazon woman like 8 feet tall.
Compared to me, like, here's the thing. It's like in my family, I'm 5'4" and I'm the tallest.
That's true.
Okay, so when I'm around my family, I'm like, hey, right? But then when I'm around you and like the rest of the crew, and it's like, hi, Mike. Hi, Amanda. Hello, Jenn Herman. Hello. How's it?
How's the weather up there?
How's the weather up there?
I love that story though. I love when you tell that story because it really was like, and you guys have to understand too, like, you know, Stephanie is Stephanie Liu, and we all know who she is. But, you know, yeah, she comes over, she's saying hi to everybody, and, like, she tells it this way, but she was so, like, hi, it's nice to meet you. Like, she was so pro-level. Like, she was nowhere near, like, the fangirl that she's making it out to be, even though you know inside she really was.
Oh, yeah, I was.
She kept her calm, and then she gets up on stage, and I had never heard, like, the warrior woman cry. I knew of it, I had never heard it, and when she dropped that, I was like, girl, you are my homegirl. Like, I was like, we are now besties. Like, that was legit. I was like, I am hooked.
Oh my gosh. Because you know how it is, like when you're at a conference and they put you after lunch, and you're like, okay, you're going to give me the food coma crew? Okay, let me show you what I can do. And it's like little 5'4" comes... Yeah, exactly. So shout out to the crew that is here tuning in. We are talking about Instagram as well as like strategies and trends that you should be paying attention to. I feel like 2020, with everything that was happening, everything's kind of a blur. There are little things that I would pick up with like what Instagram has rolled out. And what's so nice about having you is I could be like, oh yeah, can you catch me up real quick? Because
what happened last week?
Can you give me, it's like rewind. Can you tell me what happened? Because I still feel like there are companies, nonprofits, realtors, all of the above, where they're just like, I still need to get my strategy down, and that's okay. If that's you, you know what? That's okay. So, having said that, Jen, what are what are your favorite things that happened with Instagram last year?
So probably the biggest thing that happened, which is not my favorite, but the biggest thing probably that happened was Instagram Reels. And that was the, kind of the answer to TikTok. And Adam Mosseri has very publicly said, like, TikTok is their biggest competitor. They're their biggest threat, so to speak, in terms of other apps and people's attention span. And so, of course, you knew they were going to come out with some sort of response to it, which was and is Instagram Reels. And of course, when it came out, it was highly touted and, it was a little glitchy and had room for improvement. And it's evolved even, since then. We're up to now you have 30-second options, whereas it was only 15-second options at first. And it's one of those things where, like, everyone's like, I need to be doing Reels. Like, Reels is the thing. And I'm over here like, I hate them.
I remember when you were writing the article for, you're like, why is this?
It was, and that's the thing. Like, I got asked to write an article for Social Media Examiner to, talk about the new feature, because I typically write about the breaking features. And I wasted so much of my life trying to make this damn reel, like trying to get things to do what it needed to do, push this button. This one wasn't working. This wasn't loading properly. This was like, it just wasn't doing what I needed it to do. And it took me over an hour to finally create a 15-second reel. And I was like, who has this time in their life? Like, I was like, I'm out, I'm done, I'm never doing this again. And I've played with them. I haven't posted any of them publicly since then, but I've played with it here and there, obviously, for testing and to stay aware of what's going on. But the thing to be aware of, and I think this is something a lot of people are concerned about, is that because Reels are new, just like when IGTV was new, just like when Facebook groups was the big thing, when they push something, it's kind of like you kind of got to jump on the bandwagon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they want you to do it. They're going to reward you for it. So if you can embrace Instagram Reels, you can get more reach. You can get more exposure. You can get a lot of views on your content because Instagram is pushing that content to the forefront. But that being said, you're not being punished if you don't use them. But it is a really good way to get that additional opportunity for that exposure and to get in front of people's, new eyeballs.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned you're not getting punished if you don't use it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like some people are like, no, you have to. And then I get this angsty email from clients like, we need to be creating reels. I'm like, you know what? Our retainer for the month is the retainer for the month. Like, what are you trying to do right now?
We're not doing it. And yeah, it's important that you are not going to be punished. So you may see like a slight drop in reach here or there, or a slight drop in engagement here or there if you're not doing reels. But in general, if you keep doing what you know works for your audience, so if you know stories work well and you keep doing that, you're okay. If you're doing the feed and that works for your audience, great. Keep doing it. Don't just try to start adding it in just because you want the reach and exposure, because regardless, poor quality content is still poor quality content. So unless you can do a good reel, unless you can do something that's on brand and relevant and timely and ties in, then don't waste your time on creating content that's actually going to give a bad first impression, or that's not going to translate well and is, poor quality content for your existing audience who's used to all this other stuff. And now they're like, what's this weird stuff? Like, this is so not on brand. It's going to offend them. Like, it's going to hurt more than anything.
That's true. So Instagram Reels, I feel like I see a lot of TikTok videos being repurposed into the Instagram Reels, and it makes me laugh because as soon as I see the TikTok logo, I'm like, I need to go to TikTok. So it has like this reverse effect on me where it's like, oh, if I want more content like this, then I should be going over to TikTok, not necessarily that person's Instagram. So if you're just
one of the, like, the struggles with it is that, when it came out, people were like, well, just take your TikTok video and put it on Instagram Reels and you'll get the reach and the exposure. But it is like, don't just take your TikTok videos and put them on there. Like, it's not helping you because people are like, you've had it long enough. Like, if you're creating it on TikTok and just repurposing it, like, we get it. You put the time and energy into creating that content. You want to share it. But it's like, after the first few weeks of Reels, it was like, stop doing it.
Hot tweet that. Okay, I see you. You need to like simmer down now.
Yeah.
So, hey, if you're tuning in, we are talking about Instagram and what has happened with Instagram over the last year, how businesses, B2B, and realtors can all leverage Instagram in their 2021 strategy because it's not too late, right? I feel like anyone who develops a strategy, it's always going to be fluid anyway because things are going to be changing. Consumer behavior changes as well. And so we talked about one of the changes that they had, which was Reels. And I've probably done like maybe one reel, and just like you, it was the same thing. I was like, why is this taking so long to edit? And I just like didn't have like the filters that I wanted to. It wasn't my best, but I still gave it a shot. And then I moved on.
And then she went back to TikTok.
And then I did, which is like terrible because I feel like I'm fluent in TikTok now. One of our good friends who, Mike Alton, sometimes I just send him like a series of TikToks and I'm like, this is my language for the day.
Right. This is how I communicate.
This is how I communicate. Yeah. What are some other features in Instagram that happened in 2020 that you're just like, hey, people need to pay attention to this because it still works, or maybe it's dead now?
So one of my favorite things that came out that I don't feel like got nearly enough attention, and most people still don't even know they're there, are Instagram guides. And guides are basically like the same thing as the highlights for stories, but guides are for the feed. And they allow you to create a gallery, an album, a guide of content. And it doesn't have to be just yours. You can actually include other people's content. So this would be great for things like user-generated content. You could create a whole guide of other people's posts about your product or your service. Like you can do resource-based. So for example, let's say I created a guide that was just Instagram news and updates. So you wouldn't have to scroll through my whole feed and see all of my content. You could go to the guide and just get like, oh, here's the 5 posts about the most recent updates for Instagram. And so especially like in the B2B space for resources, education, tips, for the real estate industry, I'm like, put all your like open houses and current listings in a guide. Or like there's so many creative ways. I'm like these are limited only by your creativity and what you want to put in them. And it's such a unique way to put everything in one place, combination of yours and or other people's content into one location where your audience can come and get everything on that one topic. So if you're a B2B and you have like multiple, kind of avenues of your business, or even if, you are a company that has different types of SKUs, like, maybe you're in the fashion space and you have shoes and you have jewelry. Well, you can have a guide for shoes, a guide for jewelry, like all these things. And the thing is, people don't really know they're there. So you have to advertise them. Like you have to let people know. It's the little newspaper looking icon, which is the irony of it looking like a newspaper, because who actually reads a newspaper these days? But it's a newspaper looking icon. Sorry to those people who read the newspaper. But if you click on that one, that's where the guides are for anybody that has them on their profile. So you can click on that on my profile and you can see, the couple that I've uploaded or whatever. But you want to tell people, like, I put this guide together. It has all these resources. Go click on the newspaper icon on my profile. So you're going to want to tell people until they get used to it. But I just think there's so much potential for this in terms of being able to provide more resources and more value to our customers.
When you have these guides, so when you say that content creators should be promoting it more, is that something that you can also put in your custom story highlights? Because I find people are getting super freaking creative with that, and I love that they put there like FAQs, events, testimonials. So you could link your guides to that too.
You can't link them to the highlights because highlights are only for stories and guides are only for feed posts. So they're not going to be the same. But you could do stories and say, make sure to go check out my guide and have like, go to my profile and go to the guide sort of thing in there. You could do the same topics. So you could still do an FAQ. You could still do like an about us, any of those. You could duplicate having, the highlights are the story posts for it. And then the guides are the feed posts for it. So you kind of have like double the opportunity depending on the type of content that your audience most likes to interact with.
Wow. And we're like only 15 minutes into the episode, right? I'm telling you. Like, there are times when I know that Jenn is going to be on the show. And P.S., by the way, I think this is actually an annual thing for us because Facebook will always remind me, like, hey, remember this episode that you did with Jenn? I'm like, do we always do an episode in January? It's like, it's the Jenn January annual episode to
Let's make it a
brush
thing.
Stephanie up on Instagram. And I think it's always hilarious because I don't really ask Jen and I don't really talk about Instagram when we're in like our little group
No.
chat. We don't.
Yeah.
So this is the point where like I get to ask her all these questions and they're legit questions because I'm like, we don't really talk about this, but I know that
No.
if anyone in the social media strategist group has a question about Instagram, what do? I just tag Jen. I'm like, boop 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 boop, Jen Herman, come on in. And she's like, let me lay it on ya. Because she's always blogging. Like, how often are you putting out new content on Jen's Trends right now?
So the blog is not all that consistent. Again, when there's new features or new things going on, I will definitely, blog about that. I have one in the works right now related to Clubhouse, but I still haven't got around to finishing it and publishing it. I know we can talk about that in a hot second. I've got YouTube videos. I was doing a video a week for like 6 months last year, and then I kind of took a break over like November, December.
Sure.
So I'm picking that back up to get like a new video up consistently on YouTube, which answers a lot of the commonly asked questions. And those are typically like 4 to 7 minute videos. So rather than like where I would normally go on like a tangent and teach something for, half an hour to 45 minutes, those videos are the super succinct, like, this is my question, here's your answer, like a yes or no and a quick explanation sort of thing. So
Yeah.
lots of content up in that location too.
I love it. Keith Roden's like, you guys are cracking me up. I know. Don't you want to know what goes on in our little group chat? No, you don't.
Oh my God. The internet cannot handle this.
No, even when I would say like, I was like, okay, I'm going to have Jen on the show. I don't have to worry about screen sharing because we're just going to show your site. We're not going to show.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes like you and I will chat and then I go live and I'm like, our group name comes up and I'm like, oh my God, I need to fix that. But hey,
I make sure like we block out, like I log out of like Facebook whenever I'm going to do anything where I'm going to be sharing a screen because I'm like, you do not need that popping up right now.
I need to mute all of you. So here's a question from our good friend Mike. He says, could you feature the guide in a feed post, share that post to story, and then highlight it? Yeah, right?
Essentially, yes. So yeah, you'd create the guide, which lives on its own. But yeah, you'd create a feed post and you would say, hey, I've created the guide. Here's how you access it. And then yes, you can now share that to your story. And then that can, of course, be archived into a highlight. So yeah, you can do the cross-promotional stuff. If you want to get really crazy, you could film an IGTV video talking about all the things you have in the guide. And then you could link that to your stories and then have that go like, yeah, there's like all this like,
Are we making an Instagram dance right now? We're going to do this and then that. And then
Right?
it turns to a butterfly. This is the Jen's Trends. We're gonna name your new program. It's like this, friends. You're gonna do these 5 things and these 5 things and then yay, leads. So if you're tuning in, we're talking about Instagram and all the changes that happened over 2020. We've just briefly touched upon like reels. We've talked about guides, which I feel like that's something that I definitely want to go back and look at. I even know for Ecamm, because we have so many content creators that are promoting how awesome and amazing Ecamm is, it would be cool to curate all of that and just say, hey, you have questions about this? This person has talked about it, and boom, 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 and then put them all together. I love it.
Yes. Love
Good.
it.
So what are some things that people or brands, B2B and real estate folks, when it comes to their 21 strategy, what should they like no longer do on Instagram? Because there's always these rumors that float around that says you have to do 3 stories a week, you have to do an IGTV, you have to do this and all that other stuff. And the social media strategist to me is like, but when's second breakfast? Like, when do I get to have breakfast? So lay it on them. Tell them.
We got to keep Stephanie fed. Like, that is priority number 1 in all circumstances. Keep Stephanie fed. So stop creating Instagram content. Yeah. So when it comes to your 2021 strategy, it really is important to understand that it's the quality of the content over the quantity of the content. And that's easier said than done in a lot of times. But yeah, there's rumors out there that say, make sure you're posting a feed post a day and, 5 stories a day, and you're doing 2 IGTVs a week, and you're doing, 2 lives a week, and you're doing 5 reels a week, and all. Like, there's a lot of content you could be creating on Instagram. The problem with that is nobody has that much time in their life. Like, first and foremost, we're all trying to run businesses and be successful, and there's other social media. Like, most of you are probably doing this all on your own or have like a VA maybe, but we don't have like a whole team dedicated just to your Instagram content. So be realistic, and focus more on the quality of the content. So understanding how the Instagram algorithm works is that it's a one-to-one relationship, meaning if you follow me on Instagram, how you interact with my content determines where my content appears in your feed. This is not a popularity contest, meaning if everybody else on my follower list likes that content, but you don't, their behavior does not impact where I rank in your feed. And that goes for stories and for feed posts. So it's more important that you're creating the right content for your audience, not worried so much about the popularity of it, but making sure that you're putting the content out there that is going to get people to slow the scroll. If somebody slows and watches your posts just a little bit longer than a normal scroll, that's a positive ranking. If they click on ... more to read your whole caption, that's a positive ranking. And we don't get metrics on this, right?
Yeah.
If somebody goes back and watches your story again, that's a positive ranking. If they skip your story and leave and go to somebody else's, that's a negative ranking. So we want to make sure we're creating all this content that keeps them paying attention to our content so that it's next time we post, we're higher in their feed. We're more likely to show up in that ranking where they're going to see the content and interact with it, whether it's the call to action post, whether it's, a resource post, whether it's an entertainment post, whatever it is. We want to make sure we're creating that content that appeals to them so they take action on it in some way.
I love this. Look at me. I'm just like, oh. That's
I know. I love when somebody comes back on camera just to be like, oh.
Well, because I was like, well, I mean, let's be honest. I watch a lot of Korean dramas, and so when I have like a bunch of like Korean men just showing up on my Explore feed, I'm like, oh, that's why.
Yep. Well, and the Explore page is 100% customized to you, right? So I always tell people, I'm like, if you don't like the Explore page, stop looking at the content. Because if you
I like mine. I like mine.
If you watch that video that's auto playing in the Explore page, they know you did that. Like, and if you tap and look at that post in the Explore page, they know you did that. They're going to give you more of what you're looking at. And that's also curated based on the types of accounts you follow. So if you follow a lot of accounts, about, Korean dramas, you're probably going to see more of that in your Explore feed because they know that's what you're interacting with.
Absolutely. Okay, so here's a great question from our good friend Annette McDonald from Easel. And her question for you is, do guides allow you to post carousels?
Yes, you can still put a carousel in there, which is like now you're like, quadrupling, the level of content that you can put in there. But yes, any feed post can go into a guide. It can be a Reels post that you shared to your feed that can go in a guide. Carousels can go in there. Videos can go in there. Photos can go in there. Anything that has been in your feed is eligible to go into a guide.
Got it. Here's a really good question from Jose. It's a long one, so I'll read it to you, but I'll still show it on the screen. He goes, as a new agent, I get discouraged of creating content and posting lifestyle photos. Is a choice of using my money for leads or paying for photos. Oftentimes my followers are not local as well. Do you have any advice for that? As a real estate agent, should you be posting lifestyle photos?
Yeah, and this is where there has to be a balance, right? So we don't want your Instagram account to be all about homes for sale, lease, properties sold, new listings. If that's all it is, people stop paying attention because I'm not looking to buy a house right now. That doesn't mean I don't want to see your content, but if all you're doing is sharing houses that are currently available, it becomes irrelevant to me and I start scrolling past, which means you start ranking lower and lower in my feed. I just stop seeing your content altogether. So we don't want to make it all about the real estate side. But if everything is, again, just about your lifestyle, then I start to know a lot about you and your kids and your family. And I'm like, but I don't really care that much about your kids and your family. I want to know, but I don't want to know everything, right? Because I'm not in that level of a friendship with you. You're a realtor that I may or may not actually even know in real life. So it's more about finding a balance. We want to mix in things that are about homes coming up for sale, properties, new listings, those sorts of things. you don't want to do the typical, like, here's that, flyer image that we always see, which is the front facing of the house. And it's just like, the same image that everybody has, just the, kind of taken from the front yard looking at the house. No. Instead, share an image from inside the house. If they have an amazing like chef kitchen, that becomes your primary photo. An amazing backyard, a great, sunset image, with lighting on the house or something. Find a pretty picture to showcase the homes. Mix in things about what's going on in your community, what's going on as a realtor that you can help educate people about. So is there a new school under construction? Are there zoning laws changing? Is there a new shopping center being put in? With things like COVID, what are some things that you can do that are not, unsafe? So are there things that people can do, like if you were to say, oh, okay, there's an event going on, it's going to be a drive-through event, make sure you check that out for kids. Like if you can provide those resources. Other things like home decor tips, gardening tips, winterizing your home if you live in a place where, like, not in San Diego, like me and Stephanie, but we have to think about those things. I'm like, I used to live in Canada. I do know what it means to winterize a home, but that doesn't mean I actually deal with it anymore. But those are things that people care about. And so you provide that resource level content, and then you mix in your personal life. So a little bit about you, a bit more of the lifestyle stuff, because it does matter who you are. People, when they hire a realtor, make a personal decision. While how many homes you've sold and how many awards you've got has some impact, the reality is, do I like you and can I work with you for the next, 3 to 9 months while I go through buying a house? Like,
very true.
So the lifestyle does help. And so you want to do a mix and combination of all of that content that all serves your audience in the long run.
I love it. And shout out to Steve, who is tuning in, because he said, everyone is looking at their Explore page right now.
Right?
I actually think that's very telling, right? Because let's say if you were dating someone and you're like, oh, no, they're looking at like my Instagram feed. I'm like, no, you need to go to the Explore, because I feel like that would tell you more.
Then you really know who you're dating.
Then you really know what's going on over there. I love that. Jose is also asking, what are some hacks to get local followers in their market without paying for advertising? I know for you focus a lot about creating genuine content that's going to engage, so you're not much of a like quick hacks, but more long run stuff. So if you were to guide him in the right direction, what would be your suggestion for that?
Yeah, so here's a couple things to think about, and it's going to be mostly hashtag based. You can use location tags on your posts as well. That can help. So if you're at a local park, if you're at a local venue, if you're at, a local beach or, museum or any of those sorts of things, you can tag those local locations, because then you start showing up in location searches. But you also want to look to using local geographic hashtags. And so, for example, you might want to do like, Stephanie, I live in San Diego. So you can do, like I'll use hashtag San Diego moms when I'm trying to attract other moms in and around this area. I'm not going to use something like San Diego real estate necessarily. You can use that because that's still relevant. But most people aren't going to Instagram looking for real estate, right? Like most people are going to go to the MLS listings. They're going to go to Zillow. They're going to go to that sort of thing. So you can mix in a couple of those location-based real estate, but think about who that target audience is. So things like, San Diego moms, San Diego, activities, things to do in San Diego, any of those sorts of things that now put a location-based recognition around your content. People that are in and around San Diego looking for things to do in San Diego are going to see your posts, those educational posts, those sorts of things that you just shared. And they're going to be like, oh, he's got all this great information. I'm going to follow him. And now you're the realtor in their feed that when they are ready to buy or sell, they're constantly seeing your content. They feel like they can trust you. You become probably their first choice, especially if they're a first-time home buyer or something like that. So it's really going to be to focus on those geographical hashtags. Another trick, I don't like using that word, but hack or whatever that you can use. And this works better in a non-COVID world, but go follow hashtags related to things going on in your local demographic and geographical area. So for example, home and garden shows. Most people that are going to home and garden shows probably own their home. They're not living in apartments because they're probably not renovating an apartment, right? So go and look at, like in our case, San Diego Home and Garden Show or the SD Home and Garden, whatever the hashtag is, go find that hashtag and then go through and like content on that hashtag. So what you do by doing that, you're not showing up and being like, hey, I'm a realtor, sell me your house. You're just liking their content. And chances are most of these people don't have huge followings. So if they see somebody that liked 2 or 3 of their recent posts and they don't know you, they're going to go to your profile, which says that, you know, you're a realtor, you've got all this great content in there. They're more likely to now follow you. And I use this tactic frequently for social media conferences, because most of my audience is probably at a social media conference learning social media, and I'll get anywhere from like a couple dozen to a few hundred followers by using this tactic, depending on the conference size and the amount of content that's being created.
I love that. I love that. So if you guys are tuning in, we're talking about Instagram, not only for realtors, but also B2B, because Jenn, which PS, by the way, Mike had said it was Happy January. And I was like, oh, hashtag that. Happy January.
Right?
She's
this is
launched.
a thing now.
Yeah, this is a thing now. It's been a thing. We've just now officially given it a name. It was Gentourage, now it's January. It's a whole thing. So my girl here, obviously she knows so much about Instagram. It's January. She has launched 2 courses. So let me show them it real quick, because when you were talking in our mastermind group, I was like, you know what? You are pretty amazing. So let me change the screen real quick. And then we'll go into Chrome. Boom. Okay, so this is one of the courses. This is Real Estate Professionals Using Instagram, and you go all out. I remember when you were putting this together, you were like, let me tell you what's in this. So how about you tell them, because you know it best.
Yeah, so it's 8 videos, and which is about 6 hours of content, and it's a deep dive for all things in the real estate space. So we go through everything from setting up your profile, how to set it up for success to actually drive leads and traffic. We talk about content strategies for the feed. We talk about content strategies for Instagram stories. We don't go into Reels or IGTV because those are still in so much flux that I was like, if I create a course and include this information, it'll be outdated the moment I hit publish. So we focused more on the evergreen tactics for stories and for the feed. And then we also have a module on driving traffic to your website, how to get the leads, how to do that, and growing your audience associated with that. And then the final video is on insights, how to actually go through and understand what Instagram is telling you in your insights, so that you can actually use that information to do more of what's working. Because a lot of people can look at it and be like, okay, I got 73 likes, I got 122 likes. Like, what does that mean? So we actually go through and break it all down in terms of what those metrics mean, how you can actually use that to create better content and grow your account and your business over time.
I love this. And here's the thing too, is that even if you are a real estate agent and you don't have the time to do the Instagram, but you have a social media strategist that you work with, recommend this course to them.
Yeah.
Help them brush up their skills. That way it could help you in your business. Because I think this is brilliant. If I was a social media strategist and I was like, you know what, I want to work with more realtors, then it makes sense for me to purchase something like this and invest my time in it, because Jenn knows all the things about Instagram, and obviously you've worked so hard for it.
Point out, like, I have worked with a lot of real estate agents. I've spoken at real estate, conferences, so like the California Association of Realtors, Century 21 Canada, and a number of other, real estate industry things. So this isn't something where I just came out one day and was like, oh, I know how realtors should use Instagram. Like, I've got numerous real estate clients. I've worked with lots of people in this industry so that I understand what works. I've seen it for my clients. I've, worked with enough people that we have a good understanding of what the industry wants and what Instagram wants, and then what the users want, and we can put it all together. And this course is all real estate examples, right? So every screenshot, every example, every story that's mentioned in there is all real estate related, so that you can actually see there's the link. Instagram for realestate.jenstrends.com, Jenn with 2 N's. But yeah, it's definitely like, this is cultivated exclusively for the real estate industry, because it is a unique, it's not a B2B, it's not a B2C, it's this weird kind of own little entity in and of itself. And so I really wanted to make sure that we gave them, that unique level training that was exclusive to what they deal with and their unique challenges.
But not only that though, your second course then, then dives into B2B, which I was like, when I tell you that this woman has been busy, she's been busy making it happen. And so let's tell them about Instagram for B2B. What's the difference?
Yeah, so, and shout out to Ecamm, because I know we're hosting an Ecamm for this one, and Ecamm sponsored the Instagram for B2B course as well. So huge shout out to them. They're amazing, obviously. So this one is very similar. It follows the same flow as the real estate one, but this one is meant for B2B. So in this one, I'm looking at examples with, manufacturers, with logistics companies, with SAS, with, consultants, coaches. So all the examples and all the content in this one is exclusively for those in the B2B space, because let's face it, most people in the B2B space are terrified of Instagram. And if they're doing it really wrong. So it's just the reality. And I want to help as many people as I can. So it has the same format. This one does a deeper dive into certain areas, like how to drive leads and traffic. We obviously spend a lot more time on that in the B2B course, because you're trying to build your funnel. You're trying to build your lead generation. And yes, you can actually use Instagram for this, I promise you. And I talk you through how to do that. Again, how to set up the profile to maximize that. The types of content that work, and what doesn't work, because everyone always assumes that the whole B2C is easy, right? Like, you have a pretty product, you take some pretty pictures of it, you throw it up on Instagram, and boom, done, you're making money. But in B2B, you're like, what if I don't have a product? Like, What do I do? And so we walk through all of that in this course in terms of what type of content you should be shooting, how you should be uploading it, what your captions should look like and sound like, and how do you put those calls to action in there that actually get people to move forward and drive those leads and revenue for you. So it's a very robust course that I'm super proud of. And I've been working with B2B businesses for years. And I love going in the B2B space, because everyone's like, I can't use Instagram. And I'm like, challenge accepted, and it's like, that's my chance to kind of come out and be like, but you can. And so this course was that kind of all encompassing, take all the things that are in the brain up here that I talk to people about, put them all in one location so that you can learn everything Instagram for B2B and actually feel like you can do that.
And I love that you're doing this, because you and I were so used to traveling and going to conferences and sharing what it is that we know. There are some conferences that we usually speak at that are not doing it this year. And so Jenn's probably doing more private trainings for companies and real estate agencies and whatnot. And so you might not even see it. And so she's giving you full access in a course where you don't have to travel, right? But you're still getting all of the good things about Instagram, and there's no other better person to learn from.
And you're getting way more, because you're getting all 8 modules. You go to a conference, you see me for 45 minutes, and I, like, okay, great, I got one actionable takeaway. This one's going to redo your entire content strategy. It's going to redo everything you need. And the great thing is, for both courses, when you purchase them, you get everything immediately. It's not a drip course where you get one video a week and we space it out, because I'm like, no, honey, if you want to binge that at 2 a.m., you go binge it. You wake up that next morning and you be ready to hit the ground running with your Instagram strategy. I got you.
I love it. I feel like there should be a bundled package where it's real estate only, but then if you want real estate and B2B, then you could do this. Oh, and then you want to add in the consulting one-on-one, and then add that on. Right. It's like all the shopping. I want this, I want that.
Right, but all in cart.
Here's my card, swipe my card.
Take my money.
Seriously. All right. So before we go on, I want to give a quick shout out to Restream, who is powering the show, because we are able to go live in multiple destinations. We're able to go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on YouTube. So let's give them some love real quick. And let's go. Oh, it looks like I lost my video. That's okay. To live streaming across all platforms has arrived. Restream takes care of the bandwidth and processing, so you can focus on getting maximum visibility on your favorite platforms. To learn more, head on over to restream.io. Yay, Restream! Yay. Yes, Restream is absolutely amazing. I love the fact that I can schedule shows on Restream and then plug Ecamm into it, so I could still have my branded graphics and all of that amazing stuff. So if you guys are tuning in, we're talking about all things Instagram, and just, gosh, so much has changed. I feel like sometimes when I don't look at it for a month, I'm like, it's too late. It's too late. I've missed it all.
I'm done.
Yeah, it's like I'm I'm done. I have to speak to someone. And so we've talked about all the things that you could do that works well as far as like growing your audience, making sure that you're creating content that shows the whole lifestyle, plus also how you're giving value to the community and whatnot. What are some things that you should not do? What is the worst piece of advice that you've ever heard about Instagram and you're like, this is it. I'm going to drop the mic right now.
Right? Oh, and there's so many things. So there's so much bad advice. Okay, so first of all, let's talk hashtags. You can copy and paste hashtags. You can reuse them. You can use the same ones over and over again. Do not listen to the advice that says you can only use 5 or that you have to mix them up and you can't use them on back-to-back posts. Just stop listening to all that. Instagram wants you to use hashtags. Hashtags work. Just use them. Also related to hashtags, do not put popular hashtags. Anything that's not your branded hashtag should not be in your bio on Instagram. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. And both realtors and B2B tend to fall prey to this, where they write like one line of text and then they put a whole bunch of hashtags in their bio. But those are not searchable in the sense that it doesn't bring your profile into a search result. When you go look at hashtag results, it brings up content only, not accounts. So you're not doing yourself any favor by putting that hashtag in there. And then what happens is, now if somebody goes to your profile, let's assume you showed up in the explore page or in a search or something and somebody found you, they find your content, they like it, they go and look at your profile. Now in your bio, you have all these hashtags and they're like, oh, that looks fun. Click. Bye. They ain't coming back. You just lost them into a hashtag hub with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of other posts associated with it. And now they're running through somebody else's content and they will never come back to your profile. You lost them. So
I feel like that's like a sneaky thing. Like if I wanted to derail my competitor, I would say, right, this is what you should do.
You should put hashtags in your bio. But so yeah, don't put them in your bio. You only have 150 characters in the bio. Use it properly, use it strategically, put actual words and phrases and emojis that actually reference you and your business, who you are, what you do, and what's in it for them when they come and follow you. Don't waste it with hashtags. If you do have a branded hashtag that you want to put in there, that's okay, because that sends people to more content about you. That's user-generated content. That's testimonials. That's all those things. That's not so bad, because they're going to still be seeing all of your type of content. And if you have a hashtag for a campaign, let's say you're running a contest or a giveaway or something, and you were actively promoting that campaign with a hashtag, you could, for the duration of that campaign, have the hashtag in your bio. But other than that, do not put hashtags in your bio. You are only hurting yourself in the long run. So please, please stop.
I love that advice. Yeah, because you're only limited with how much space and characters that you have. So if you're going to put something in there, at least be strategic with it. Yeah. So everyone's like, well, what do I have?
I know. Shamefully looking, I'm like, I had a girl reach out to me on Instagram today, and she just liked a bunch of my posts, and I was like, please go remove all the hashtags from your bio before I talk to you. I was like, mistake number 1. Like, go delete these all right now. Just stop. Just put the words in. And actually, that does lead me to, so one of the other things that Instagram did launch this year, finally, that we've all been begging for, is keyword search on Instagram. The problem is we don't know what they're pulling from. So because it's such a new feature, we don't know, are they looking only at the content? Are they looking only at the account for that sort of thing? So for example, if you were to go to Instagram right now and just search social media, you would start to see social media related results, right? So it's actual search results, not just in a hashtag capacity, but you can actually search for keywords and phrases. But because we don't know where that content is, or that search is coming from, it's coming from artificial intelligence. It's looking at the actual image in and of itself. It's looking at, your captions, your hashtags, what other types of content you create. There's all these things in there. So don't stop doing what works. Don't stop using location tags. Don't stop using hashtags. Don't stop creating high quality content with great captions. And until we know and really understand how that keyword search works, just keep doing what you're doing, and stick around. And when I know more about keyword search, I'll make sure to update the universe on how it works.
I know, right? So, and the best place to go to that is jenstrends.com, because I feel like usually release it on your site first, or if you're really fast, you're like, I'm gonna put this on my Facebook page.
And so I go Facebook group and Facebook page. So if you go to the Facebook group, which is you just search Jenn's Trends in Social Media on Facebook, you'll find the Facebook group. And that's where I do share all breaking news related to Instagram. And it's kind of like my secret hack where I'll go and be like, oh, look, Instagram's doing something new. Anybody tried it out yet? And then that way we can kind of test it out, and then I go and blog about it, or then I go and post about it on Instagram, because we have enough people in there that are around the world that start to be like, oh, I haven't seen it yet, or oh, I got this last week, I've been trying it, and they'll send me screenshots. So even if I don't have a new feature, I can start to see what it looks like and start to help educate on how that would work and what it looks like. So if you really want to be on the know of the know, the Facebook group is a great place to be. And then, the Facebook page, obviously I share everything there once I have like the blog posts out and all that sort of stuff too.
I love it. Okay. So now tell me about Clubhouse, because someone ended up getting an iPad and she was like, now I'm on Clubhouse. So tell me.
Yeah.
What
Android, like die hard Android, right? So I'm like, I'm never going to be able to go on Clubhouse because I will never own an Apple device. But my daughter needed an iPad for school, and it couldn't be a tablet, like a Surface tablet. It had to be an actual, like an iPad. So here I am, like, woe is me, I'll never get on Clubhouse. And I'm like, my kid's got an iPad. What am I doing? So I totally jacked my kid's iPad. So now I can be on Clubhouse. And as I say that, she walked behind me and she's grabbing the iPad.
She's like, Mom's been stealing my iPad that was for school, doing this Clubhouse thing.
And isn't it so cute? And it's got Clubhouse notifications.
Oh, it's the Jenn thing too.
It's got the butterfly on top of it, of all the things. So here's the thing with Clubhouse. If anybody is using Clubhouse and you're familiar with it, you know that a lot of it, so it links to your Twitter account and your Instagram account. But what has become a very common practice is people say, go check out my Instagram profile.
Yeah.
So you can link to it within your Clubhouse, profile, but people will go over, and because Clubhouse doesn't have messaging, they are sending Instagram DMs. So if people want to connect with you after hearing you or seeing you on Clubhouse, they're going to send you an Instagram DM.
Yeah.
And I did a Clubhouse show with Chelsea Pites the other day. It was a 1-hour show. I got 88 new Instagram followers from that one Clubhouse show. And it was like, hey, go follow Jenn on Instagram. Jenn's the Instagram girl. She's got all this stuff on Instagram. Like, we mentioned it, a couple of times, but I got 88 new followers, from that one episode. And then all the DMs. So now you've got them in your inbox. Like, this is, and I love Instagram DMs because, let's face it, nobody checks Twitter DMs. Facebook Messenger is one of those ones that, like, it's constantly on the go and, like, it's hard to keep up with, especially, like, for people like us who live on
Facebook. Twitter DMs anymore. I'm just like, I get all the bots where it's like, to make sure that you're real, click this link. I'm like, you're not real.
It's legit, right? And I'm like, who has the balls to, like, send me, like, a Twitter DM? Like, I'm not even on Twitter to, like, answer this. Like, why would you send me this? Yeah. So I love that most people are using Instagram DMs as it relates to Clubhouse conversations. So if you are using Clubhouse and you do want to grow your Instagram, it can be a good way to do that, because, again, you can be promoting that and being like, make sure to check out my Instagram account, follow me over there, or literally say you're on the stage on Clubhouse, say, send me a DM on Instagram. And now you've got that back-to-back conversation going on with them. And that's one-on-one private conversation. You took that off any public forum and, for building relationships, moving towards that, getting the close of the sale, start asking those questions, start, providing those resources and being like, well, I can handle that. I offer consultations. Well, I offer training. Whatever it is. So I'm not like all in on Clubhouse, but I do see a lot of potential for it. And I do like that there is that level of integration and association with how people are making Instagram tie into the Clubhouse side of things.
Yeah, I found, because I do the live video creators club with Molly, like I'll jump in there as a moderator every now and then, and every single time it's like new followers. And what I always find interesting is that they'll send a DM, right, to introduce themselves. I was like, well, you just heard my voice for the last 3 hours. I'm just going to send you an audio message. And the reaction is always like, wow, that was really interesting to hear you actually greet me saying my name.
Like, that I always tell people, and Steph, I mean, I'm like the non-audio. Like I text back everything, and that's because I'm usually in places where I can't actually record a voice recording. I'm like surrounded by people. I'm at a day job. I'm doing whatever it is where I don't have the luxury of being able to record a voice message. But on your Instagram DMs, if you can send a voice or a video message and reply to somebody to answer their question, it augments you to like a whole new level. Again, it's seeing the face or hearing the voice. There's that trust factor, but they also know it's you, not, some automated response or somebody on your team. They know it's actually you, but also they know it's personalized to them now. So it's not just something like I took that canned response and dumped that in here. You are literally being like, I heard your question. I'm answering your question. I'm giving you my time. And yeah, especially, for both that real estate and that B2B side of things, if you're trying to forge those relationships, Instagram direct messages are incredibly powerful for that.
That's so interesting. I wonder if Instagram will just be like, Clubhouse is using our DMs as their back channel.
Well, and it makes you wonder, like, will Clubhouse ever offer like a messaging function? Because it is something that so many people are like, I heard you on stage and I want to connect with you, but there's no way to do it unless you do it through either an Instagram or Twitter DM, because that's what links to your Clubhouse profile. So
Yeah.
It's not like you have your email on there. It's not like there's any sort of messaging within Clubhouse. And whether they change that or have intentions for that, I have no idea. But for right now, it's really good for Instagram.
I think so. Yeah, I was like it's a good growth strategy for them, because if the only links that you can have would either be Instagram or Twitter, people are most likely going to follow you on Instagram. And so if you wanted to grow your Instagram, be on Clubhouse basically at that point. So having said that, do you foresee yourself hanging out on Clubhouse more? Will there be a Jenn's Trends Club? Like, talk to me.
So yes, I do intend to do it more. I have a couple calls, or shows, whatever we call them on Clubhouse, scheduled, for upcoming. And I've been invited to do a number of them because, again, it's partially because it's new and because it has so much opportunity and it's just a different platform. So I've got a couple invitations to do shows over there. I'm seriously considering doing my own. My problem is I hate... in that situation, I don't want to be the only one speaking. So like, I would rather do like AMA style ones. I don't want to necessarily do a show where it would be me teaching. I would rather do more of like an AMA. So I might set up like a monthly AMA where, again, people can come up on stage, ask their questions. We can moderate through it, but it would definitely be like, this is going to be a 45-minute. Like, this is not going to be like these ones that ran on for like, 3+ hours. I would be like, and we're closing this down. Like, I don't know how people can possibly be on there for like 2 or 3 hours.
I felt bad once. I was on one and then I was like, okay, that's been 30 minutes. And they're like, no, we go. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I know. I had one too. And it was like, they knew I only had an hour. But it was one of those, and they were like, they kept going. And then like, even the host that I was with like ended, and like someone else took over hosting roles and kept it going. And I was like, in all honesty, I don't know how I feel about this. And because like, let's just say hypothetically, you do a show on Clubhouse and you say, Instagram updates with Jenn Herman. Yeah. And I leave the show, but you keep talking to people. I don't know what advice you're showing, and that's associated with my name. If you leave the show and provide hosting to somebody else, now people are coming on to Clubhouse and being like, oh, Jenn Herman, if like they're fans or followers of mine, they tune into this show and I'm not there, and now who knows who's talking about what. So there's part of me that has like, branding concerns about some of these things. I think if it's a generic topic and it's passed off and handed along, like that's one thing. But yeah, when there's things associated with people or brands, I think there has to be, clarity and expectations set for those shows.
Got it. All right. So before I let you go, first, what is your Clubhouse handle? Because I feel like more people want to hear from you. So is it Jenn's Trends, Jenn Herman, or what is it?
Same as everywhere else. It's JENNS_trends. So same as Instagram, same as Twitter.
And now tell them about the 2 courses.
Yes. So you can go to Instagram for realestate.jenstrends.com or Instagram for business.jenstrends.com. Yes, thank you, Mike Alton. Thank you, Stephanie, for putting them up on the screen. So the Instagram for real estate is the one dedicated exclusively to real estate professionals and all things real estate tips, tricks, and everything else for managing your Instagram account. And then the Instagram for business is for the B2B side of things. So that's the deep dive into how you can actually build Instagram for relationship building, building your list, driving that website traffic, building up your funnels, all that sort of stuff. So lots of amazing things in there. All of my knowledge of all things, soup to nuts, when it comes to Instagram. About 6 hours of content in both of those courses dedicated just to Instagram for those individual industries. So I really hope that you'll check them out. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me anywhere around the wide web as Jenn's Trends, JNNS_trends on Instagram, Twitter, and on Clubhouse. And then jenstrends.com as my website.
How you're able to do that all in one breath always astounds me. Look at you!
Like, I talk fast. I gotta get this all out.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Well, thank you so much. It's so much fun to have you here because, as I said, it's always January. Get me up to speed about what's happening in Instagram. So for those of you that are now trying to re-algorithmize your Explore feed and like furiously deleting the hashtags in your bio, hopefully you've learned a lot today. And by all means, check out her website if you want to be a part of like these tests that she does. So much feedback from fans and followers from all over the world. Check out her Facebook group as well. She's always doing so much there, and some really badass, awesome people. I think like Matt Navarro pops up every now and then. Yeah.
I love the Facebook group. I love Instagram, obviously, but I do love my Facebook group because it really is such a very welcoming, very interactive community. It's a safe place to ask questions, and everyone chimes in with answers and tips, and are all tag people. We're like, I have no idea. Like, at Stephanie, you answer this.
Very true. Very true. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Jenn, you're absolutely amazing. We'll share this out to the rest of the crew, and that's it for Instagram. I will check back with you next year.
I'll see you in 12 months.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.
Oh!